Welcome to Wealth Chronicle, where we explore the history of money, finance, and power. Today, we're diving into the turbulent story of Bitcoin, a stateless currency born in a lawless world. How did a string of code, created by a ghost, challenge the very foundations of our financial system? And what happens when an idea of pure freedom collides with the messy reality of human nature? It all began in 2008. The world was reeling from a financial crisis that shattered trust in banks and governments. Out of this chaos, a mysterious figure named Satoshi Nakamoto published a white paper. The goal? A peer-to-peer electronic cash system. No banks, no governments, no inflation. A currency for the people, by the people. Satoshi designed Bitcoin to be scarce, capping its supply at exactly 21 million coins. Every transaction would be permanently recorded on a public ledger called the blockchain, making it transparent and supposedly incorruptible. In the very first block of this chain, the Genesis block, Satoshi embedded a headline from the Times of London: Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. It was a clear message, a digital protest etched into history. Bitcoin wasn't just technology. It was a political statement. So how does it actually work? Imagine a massive global Sudoku puzzle. All around the world, powerful computers are racing to solve it. These computers are run by miners. When a miner solves the puzzle, they get to add the next block of transactions to the blockchain. As a reward for their work, they earn newly created Bitcoin. This ingenious process called mining is what keeps the network running. It verifies every transaction and secures the entire system, all without a single person or company in charge. It's a decentralized marvel. In the early days, Bitcoin was a playground for a small group of cypherpunks and idealists. They were drawn to its promise of financial sovereignty, the ability to be your own bank. But as its value started to climb, from pennies to dollars, then hundreds, then thousands, a different crowd arrived: speculators. The dream of a new financial system began to look a lot like a get-rich-quick scheme, and then came the crash. In 2014, the world's largest Bitcoin exchange, GOX, suddenly collapsed. 850,000 Bitcoins, worth nearly $500 million at the time, simply vanished. Customers lost everything. And here, Bitcoin's great paradox was laid bare. It was designed to remove the middlemen, the banks and payment processors. But in doing so, it also removed the mediators. There was no one to call, no government to appeal to, no deposit insurance to save you. Your money was just gone. This became a recurring theme. The blockchain as transparency meant you could often watch stolen funds move from one anonymous address to another, but getting them back was next to impossible. What does it mean to be your own bank? It means you are your own security guard, your own fraud department, and your own help desk. It's the ultimate trade-off: complete freedom versus any form of protection. As the years went on, this radical idea would be put to its biggest test yet, not on a computer screen, but in an entire country. In 2021, the small nation of El Salvador shocked the world by making Bitcoin legal tender. The president, Nayib Bukele, presented it as a way to bank the unbanked and break free from reliance on the US dollar. The government launched its own digital wallet, the Chivo wallet, preloaded with $30 for every citizen. Bitcoin ATMs popped up across the country. On the surface, it looked like a revolutionary leap into the future. But the reality on the ground was far more complicated. The biggest problem was volatility. Imagine getting your salary in Bitcoin, only to find it's worth 20% less the next day when you need to buy groceries. Most Salvadorans, especially the poor, couldn't afford that kind of risk. They preferred the stability of the dollar. Fast forward to 2025, and the experiment has largely fizzled out. Studies show only a small fraction of the population, around 8%, still use Bitcoin for daily transactions. The government, which once championed its mandatory acceptance, has quietly walked that back, making it voluntary. El Salvador's bold move taught us a crucial lesson. Technology alone cannot fix deep-seated economic problems like poverty and inequality. A financial system isn't just about moving value. It's about trust, stability, and legal frameworks things a state is designed to provide. Bitcoin could be part of a system, but it couldn't be the system itself. While El Salvador's dream of a Bitcoin economy stalled, a new power structure was forming within the network itself. A new class of financial royalty emerged: the Bitcoin whales. These are individuals or groups who hold enormous amounts of Bitcoin. By 2025, it's estimated that the top 1% of holders controlled over half of the total supply. With this concentration of wealth comes an immense concentration of power. A single whale selling a fraction of their holdings can send the market price crashing. A coordinated move by a few whales can create waves that wipe out smaller investors. In traditional finance, we have rules against market manipulation and insider trading. There are regulators like the SEC to enforce them. In the world of Bitcoin, there are no such rules. What would be considered a crime on Wall Street is often celebrated as a clever strategy in crypto. Satoshi Nakamoto set out to create a decentralized system free from the control of elites. But what has emerged is a new kind of oligarchy. Power didn't disappear. It just shifted. Instead of Wall Street bankers and central bank governors, the new kingmakers are the early adopters, the giant mining corporations, and the anonymous whales who can move markets with a click. It's also critical to draw a line between Bitcoin and crypto. Bitcoin was designed to be digital gold. Slow, deliberate, scarce, and secure. Its purpose was singular. But the thousands of other cryptocurrencies that followed are a different beast entirely. The broader crypto space became a digital casino, filled with meme coins, speculative tokens, and outright scams, all fueled by hype and the fear of missing out. The lack of clear global regulations has allowed this chaos to flourish, leaving millions of investors exposed. So what is Bitcoin's legacy? It proved, unequivocally, that money can exist without a state. It created a global, censorship-resistant asset that anyone with an internet connection can access. That is a monumental achievement. But it also showed us the dark side of absolute freedom. A system without rules or referees doesn't create a level playing field. It creates a jungle where the powerful prey on the weak. Power wasn't eliminated. It was just redistributed to a new unregulated elite. In the end, Bitcoin's greatest contribution might not be as a currency, but as a philosophical provocation. It forced us to ask fundamental questions. What is money? Who should control it? And what is the price of true financial freedom? The story of Bitcoin is a mirror reflecting our own complicated relationship with money, trust, and power. And that story is far from over. Thanks for joining us on Wealth Chronicle. If you want to keep exploring the forces that shape our financial world, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. See you next time.